It's a beautiful day today and we're back reading some more PettyRevenge. I'm so excited for this episode and I hope you guys are too. I've been excited about doing this second episode since we did the first episode. Something about these is so satisfying. And yeah, with that being said, let's get straight into it. Enjoy, guys. Your friends won't stop parking in my driveway. Congratulations, your parents now know that you vape at 16. My neighbours have a teenage son whose friends keep parking in my driveway. I went to check my mail last week and I saw them all out the front and I decided to nicely bring it up, which was met with eye rolls and fake okays. Monday comes around and I come home to find 3 of his friends' cars taking all the space I have to park. It was a 14-hour day for me, so I wasn't having it, and I made my second approach with intention to make myself very clear and said that I'd make it the neighbour's son's problem. Tonight I get home and it's happened again. I went next door and an adult finally answered. I brought up the cars at my place and I added a side note that their kid never expected. He's also been throwing his disposable vapes in my yard and I have the other neighbour as a witness, so I casually asked them to make sure that stops, and the instant change in expression told me everything I needed to know. Shortly after his friends left, and I can assume they probably won't be back for a while. Happy spring break, kid. Oh, and fair enough as well. That's so bloody frustrating. Coming home and this person and all their friends are all parked in your driveway, and it happens on multiple occasions as well. Yeah, like the top comment says, great job. You probably put things in perspective for his parents. He needs to learn how to respect others. Maybe he does usually, but to be disrespectful and have his friends be just as disrespectful would probably lead to arrest. Plus he's littering and thought you wouldn't find out or turn him in. Hopefully he learns a valuable lesson about respect. Yeah, bloody hope so. Like, oh, wait a second, that was really rude of me and I shouldn't have done that. I hope a lot of people that we read about realize that. Story number 2, refuse to give the gift you promised my daughter. Fine, I'll take away the gift I got for you. This year I got a new job that has been paying me very well. Therefore, for this Christmas I decided to splurge on everyone. In particular, I spent a lot of money on my 9-year-old daughter and she deserves it 100%. She's been pushing herself in school, helping around the house without being asked to, and always being the kindest soul that you'll ever meet. However, when my mother-in-law came early in the morning and saw how the gifts under our tree were much more than usual, she asked why. I told her I bought everyone a bunch of gifts, including her. She then proceeded to ask how much gifts I got my daughter, and I told her about 3 big ones and 3 mini ones. Apparently this outraged her because she started saying that a 9-year-old did not deserve that many gifts and that she would be taking away the gift that she bought my daughter so that my daughter wouldn't be too spoiled. I told her that was unfair, especially since my mother-in-law promised my daughter a doll for Christmas and my daughter was looking forward to it. My mother-in-law said let it be a lesson to my daughter that in life she can't get all things that she asked for. Look, I understand that, but it's not like I shower my daughter in gifts every day, and if anything, Christmas is the day that you're supposed to spoil your children. But my wife told me to let it go, and it was her mother's gift and therefore she could do anything she wanted with it, and her mother agreed, saying it was her right. And if we're gonna play with that ideology, then so be it. I decided to remove the $600 designer bag that I got my mother-in-law, the thing I knew she wanted the most, and I gave her a $40 robe instead. Once my mother-in-law opened her present, she was disappointed, asking if that was all from me, because everyone else got increasingly more expensive gifts from me, and I said yeah, and I apologized if I disappointed her, but we can't always get the gifts that we hoped for. This left both her and my wife extremely furious, but hey, the mother-in-law got enough gifts, so I wouldn't want to spoil her. Yeah, you did the right thing. Imagine getting upset about this. Like, not only is them saying that about your daughter super rude, but also it kind of sounds like they half expected that $600 designer bag, and they were like, oh, is that all you got for me? And they think their daughter's the one that needs to learn a lesson. Nah, grandma. Yeah, and like this comment says, this left both her and my wife extremely furious. Well, wife caring more about mother than daughter. Once my mother-in-law opened her present, she was disappointed, asking if that was all from me. Also, holy hell, what sort of crazy entitlement is this? Yeah, I thought them asking if that was all they were getting from them was definitely a bit much too. Story number 3 is called She Expected an Inheritance from My Late Husband. My husband passed away 2 years ago. He was a remodeler who had a broad list of clients. For a time to help out the adult daughter, let's call her Kiki, of my good friend of 42 years, Ami, he would hire her as a helper on some of his larger remodeling projects. During that time, Kay would occasionally borrow things for her own projects: a portable CD player, a pair of channel locks, a winch, a table saw, a chainsaw, a Graco cart paint sprayer, an air compressor, and a nail gun. They were all borrowed clean, in working order, in good condition with all relevant parts included. Every single one of them was returned with great delays, all broken and missing significant parts and a crap ton of excuses. Over 2 years, Kiki managed to cost him nearly $5,000 in losses. Finally, he also quit hiring her as a helper because he caught her stealing from one of his clients and forced her to put the item she took right back and then kicked her off the job immediately. Last September, I was visiting Ami and Kiki was there, and then Kiki hit me up for what she called her promised inheritance, which was the first I'd ever heard about it. Given that my husband and I spent the 8 years of his terminal illness talking about what he wanted after he died, given that he gifted things of his that he wanted friends to have before he died, I knew damn well that he didn't intend for Kiki to have anything. My husband left no will. Ami knew that my husband had quit lending her tools after getting the carp paint sprayer back. It was a $1,200 purchase and was less than 4 months old when it was borrowed and returned broken, in ways the warranty would not cover. Ami also knew that Kiki's attempted theft had caused him to refuse to have her work on anything with him, for any reason. Ami was also a victim of her daughter stealing from her as well. Now, our state is a community property state. When a spouse dies without a will, only the surviving spouse inherits, so Ami told her daughter to back off, and I got the bright idea of how I was going to handle getting rid of all that broken stuff, which was still taking up room in the tool shed. So I told her I'd be sure to pick something out for her, even though her own behaviour was the root cause of the bad blood between herself and my husband. So the next day, with Ami's help, I dropped off all the broken tools and busted up CD players that Kiki borrowed from my husband at her apartment. Kiki wanted to know what I expected her to do with all of it. I told her that I expected her to do with them whatever it was that she had expected my husband to do with them after she returned them in the condition that they were in. Now she's the proud owner of a bunch of useless tools, and I got to reclaim nearly 35 square feet of space in what is now my tool shed. Wow, that's amazing. I love how they handled this. Like, hey, you feel like you're entitled to something? Remember all that stuff of theirs that you broke? Well, yeah, you're entitled to that. Story number 4 is called I Got a Little Girl in Trouble on Purpose. I have a 1-year-old son, and we decided to go to the playground one day. On this day, a bunch of kids were there, among whom was a bratty 4-year-old girl who had a real mean streak to her. My son, who didn't know better, went close to her and she just tells him, "What are you doing here? You're not invited here." I agree, I kinda didn't like my son being bullied, but I figured that he doesn't understand these things yet, and I didn't want to be one of those sensitive helicopter parents who shield their kids from everything, so I just took my son and we played elsewhere. Later on, I said that her grandma was there, and it's not like she was one of those loosey-goosey grandmas, so while the girl was close to her grandma, it dawned on me that I could bait her to be mean to my kid in front of Granny, so I placed my son close to her since I figured out that he wouldn't understand anyway, and it worked. She said, "You're not welcome here, go away," and her grandma heard and she got in trouble, and the grandma said they'll now go home since she can't be nice. She fought it but couldn't really do anything about it. Part of it was that I think Granny just wanted to go home, lol. Editor Ad, I'm sorry for the lack of clear communication on my part, but for those who say that my 1-year-old needs to learn boundaries, yeah, I do agree, and I do try to teach him. For example, he'll want to just grab other kids' toys like toy cars or balls when other kids fling them around, but I never let him touch it, and I communicate with him why it's important to not touch other people's things without their consent. For the girls asserting her boundaries part, as much as I am for boundaries, she was gathered in the middle of the top of the playground structure where kids access the slides and fiddle with marbles on the walls, so I don't really think she or her group should be asserting their boundaries or personal space when they're in a shared space and a supposed throughway for other kids, and she was also doing it to other kids, not just mine. Yeah, like the top comment says, you did her a semi-favor. You gave her the opportunity to display some behavior that an adult in her life should be correcting, and fortunately Grandma was up to the task. Yeah, 100%, huge shout out to Grandma. Story number 5 is called Roommates Stopped Contributing, so we left them with nothing. This happened during my junior year of college. I, Claire, lived with 5 other women. I'll call them Abby, Brooke, Danny, Ella, and Fran. When we signed the lease on the house, we agreed to a 1-year deal, June 1st to May 31st. The house was off campus and unfurnished, so we needed things to make it feel like home. Prior to moving in, we all sat down and decided what we needed for the house and who was going to bring what, and also settled on a chore schedule. We also decided that we'd have a household supply fund set up so we could buy things that we'd all use, like toilet paper and paper towels, dish detergent and laundry detergent. As it turns out, Danny, Ella, Fran and I bought most of the stuff that we needed, like a couch and a small dining table, dishes, silverware, drinking glasses, cookware, food storage containers, etc. Things went pretty well during my fall semester. Shortly after that, however, things started to decline. Abby's boyfriend Andy basically moved in with us, and the two of them started acting like they owned the place, left a dirty dish in the sink. They'd leave a passive-aggressive note about how rude it was to do that, come home after the library closed at midnight. Abby and Andy went to bed at 10, and if you woke them up, there was hell to pay. Pretty soon, Brooke and her boyfriend Brad were acting in much the same way. By early February, it was clear to Danny, Ella, Fran and me that we did not want to live with Abby and Brooke another year. The 4 of us found a different off-campus place and we signed a lease. We let Abby and Brooke know, and from then on, the 2 of them plus their boyfriends went from partial jerks to complete jerks. They'd do things like stop the clothes washer mid-wash, take our clothes out, dump dump them on the floor and then start their own laundry? Okay, so what you're saying is they suck? That's so rude. They'd use all the hot water by taking super long showers. They'd write return to sender on our mail. Oh my god. They destroyed flowers our boyfriend sent or brought to us. They refused packages. They stopped contributing to the shared supply fund and they stopped doing chores. Well, how awful can you be? About a week before Memorial Day, Ella got a call from the landlord on our new place saying that the previous tenants had moved out and we could move in early if we'd like at no charge. Danny, Ella, Fran and I discussed it and we decided to get out of our current house ASAP, but we didn't tell Abby and Brooke of our plans. Memorial Day weekend rolls around and Abby, Brooke and the boyfriends head out of town to go camping, while the rest of us put our plan to action. With the help of friends Danny, Ella, Fran and I got all of our stuff moved out, all living room furniture, dining room furniture, dishes, silverware, cookware, food storage containers, baking supplies, shower curtain, rugs, lamps, vacuum, broom, dustpan, etc. We also decided that since neither Abby nor Brooke had contributed to the shared household supply fund since March, the toilet paper, paper towels, dish detergent, laundry detergent and so forth was ours, so we took all of that too. Abby, Brooke and their boyfriends were shocked to return from their camping trip to an empty house. What made our petty revenge even sweeter was that on their way home from camping, all four of them got food poisoning and were really sick. The scathing text that we got about moving out unannounced and taking all the shared household goods, especially the toilet paper, priceless. Danny, Ella, Fran and I are great friends still, and we still get a good laugh about the situation about 12 years later. None of us have heard from Abby or Brooke since graduation. Wow, that's unbelievable. Hell yeah, that was so satisfying. Like, that's what you get for being awful. Some people are so frustrating. Like, oh, I'm gonna make your life even harder and be super awful. Oh, what's that? The consequences of my actions? You did the right thing. You can't live with somebody that's even a little bit toxic, let alone people doing stuff like this. Yeah, that was incredible. Story number 6 is called Scumbag Neighbor Broke Into My Vehicle and Stole My Stuff, so I returned the favor. I rented a duplex in my early 20s. My neighbor was a wannabe gangster type and made the mistake of breaking into my vehicle one night. I had a small SUV with a removable soft top, so my neighbor figured it would be easy pickings to just peel back the top and help himself to my stereo, amplifier, CDs and some other stuff. I discovered the break-in early in the morning after it occurred. I knew for certain who the culprit was. We weren't in a heavily populated area and my neighbor was well known for thievery. I waited around for him to leave his place, and when the opportunity arose, I went around the back of the house and I looked through the bedroom window to find out that sure enough my stuff was sitting right on the floor in there. I instinctively tried the window and as luck would have it, the sash went right up. Bingo, I hopped in and I surveyed the items laying around. It occurred to me that I could get some excellent revenge here if I played it right. So rather than just recoup my stuff and wind up in a fight over it, I borrowed a marker and I proceeded to write my name on all the stuff and also a few choice items of his just for good measure. I then climbed back out the window and I waited. When he finally came back, I called for some police presence and explained to them how my vehicle got robbed, and I knew it was the neighbor due to seeing through the window. We knock on the door and I can still remember the look on his face seeing me and the cop standing there. He wasn't even close to ready for the encounter and almost certainly had drugs on him, so he was very cooperative given the circumstances. I politely explained that I know he broke into my vehicle and I needed him to return my stuff immediately or I'll have to press charges. He retrieved my things and I pointed out my name written on them to the officer. I asked about my other stuff while he looked back puzzled and dumbfounded. I rattled off the other couple of choice items of his that I also put my name on earlier. The look in his face while he handed over his stuff to me while the cop was standing there was priceless. That's such a smart idea. These stories have been so good today. And yeah, I get the feeling he's not going to be stealing your stuff anymore. The next one says, take my parking spot. What goes around comes around. This may be the pettiest thing I've ever done. So in my city, there's a pub that's attached to a donut shop that serves the best donuts in the city, which always causes a long line. And because it is attached to a pub, it doesn't shut until 9 PM, as there's a solid flow of business rolling in. Anyway, my girlfriend and I get a serious hankering for some snacks, so we decide to head to the donut shop, and we arrive at about 8:30 PM by car. Now, there are only 3 parallel parking spots a little up the street from the place, and they're all 15-minute spots, which are usually full. We see up the street that, count our lucky stars, a spot is free. My girlfriend pulls a little ahead of the car in front of the spot, turns on her indicator, and begins backing into the parking spot when this little white Vespa driving behind us whips into the spot. I roll down our window and I call out to the driver, "Excuse me, we were just backing in." The driver seems to be a student who shrugs her shoulders and calls out to me, "Sorry, first come, first serve." While her and her friend share a good laugh, my girlfriend suggests that we just get donuts another time, and I tell her she can drop me off here. I'll buy the donut since I know what she likes and she can loop around. She agrees and I pop out of the car past the little white Vespa where the girls are still gathering their things, and I head to the shop. As always, the line is super long for donuts, and since this is the last batch, the donuts are slim pickings. Talking about which ones ones are best and which they haven't had yet. I hear one of them jokingly mention, "Thank God we got a parking spot," and they burst out laughing. I get to the front of the line, and when they ask me for my order, request 2 dozen donuts, which is every last one remaining, the girls behind me didn't listen to what I ordered, but eyebrows of confusion started to form on their faces, and they slowly saw each donut loaded into the boxes and their options dwindle. One of them, the driver, in desperation asked the baker who was loading them in, "What, you're not going to save a few for us though?" To which I turned around and said, "Sorry, first come, first serve." She honestly looked like she just simultaneously solved a movie mystery and pooped her pants. It's difficult to put into words, but truly an expression I can never forget. Best donuts I ever tasted and enjoyed by the rest of my office the next morning. Okay, that's my favorite one by far. That's so unbelievably deserved, and they should have saw that coming, to be fair. The person that you were just super rude to is in front of you now, and now you can't get any donuts. These are so fun. I love reading these. And also the fact that they were laughing about it as well makes it even more satisfying. Like, oh, you're gonna be super rude to somebody and then laugh about it with your friends? And not just laugh about it to your friends, but laugh about it at the other person? Yeah, you don't deserve any donuts, okay? The bloody audacity. Story number 7 is called "My New Downstairs Neighbor Made the Manager Harass Me." I hope he likes being woken up at 2 a.m. every morning. I've lived in the same apartment with my boyfriend for almost 4 years. It's not the best apartment, but I love the location. I've never really had any problems here. I'm a quiet neighbor that stays to myself. My new downstairs neighbor has made several stupid complaints, like complaints about me running my garbage disposal, but the most recent one was ridiculous. He went and told management that there's been issues with my balcony. I got a call last week asking if I've been throwing anything over my balcony. I told the manager absolutely not. There's plants down below, so I had dumped a water bottle off into the plants before, but that's not harming anyone. Because of this call, I went out to my balcony to investigate. I noticed that my flower vase had fallen over and some water may have spilled down. Not too big of a deal. There wasn't too much water in the vase when the wind knocked it over. I think this is the end of that silly complaint, but I was wrong. The weekend passes and I get a nasty notice on my door. The notice said pet violation for not picking up after my dog and a $50 fine, and stating that I'm at risk of getting my lease terminated because of my violations. The only problem is I don't have a dog. I emailed the property manager and I said I do not have a dog, therefore I'm not paying this fine. She sends back a ridiculous email stating that she's received several complaints. I only have one downstairs neighbor about urine coming from my balcony, so she assumed I was letting my dog that I don't have pee on my balcony. Then she says since I don't have a dog, that means me or my boyfriend are peeing on our balcony and that I'm still in violation of my lease. This was comical at this point. My boyfriend and I have never done this. We've never had any complaints in our 4 years here. It just so happens as soon as I get a new downstairs neighbor, the complaints came rolling in. Yeah, they're not being very discreet about it. Here's where the petty revenge kicks in. I work night shift, so I don't get to bed until around 6 a.m. Every morning around 6 a.m, I hear my new neighbor leaving for work. My boyfriend and I decided to incorporate a new 2 a.m. workout when I get home from work, consisting of jumping jacks, running in place, and all sorts of fun stuff just for my lovely downstairs neighbor. I've informed the leasing office that I won't be renewing my lease in December due to this. The next 3 months for my new neighbor is going to be hell. I hope he enjoys it. Why are they making random complaints about stuff that you're not even doing? Like just to annoy you or something? Like so bitter and angry that they're making complaints about stuff that isn't even happening? And yeah, you handled this well, and I feel like that's enough for today. This subreddit is so beautiful. We're going to be back on here super soon, but for today I feel like we should read something wholesome. Wet dog meets a semi-wet dog. I'm you, but with legs. Oh, that's so cute. Like, oh my god, what are you? Are you my new best friend? And just like that, they were friends forever. The winter sun. Oh, I overslept again. Oh well, and goes back down. Yeah, how true is that? I'm in Australia, so I have the beautiful daylight savings at the moment, and waking up at like 6 or 7 and the sun is already up, and the sun is up until like 9 o'clock at night. That's so awesome. But yeah, this is the sun in winter. Like, oh well, I got up late, but I'm gonna go back to bed. So cute. Me jokingly flirting with a girl, her flirting back, me screaming internally. Oh, that's so beautiful. And they lived happily ever after. Mr. Bean taught me one thing in life: enjoy your own company instead of expecting someone else to make you happy. Wow, very true. Good job, Mr. Bean. Absolute legend. And on that note, thank you for watching, everybody. I hope you had a wonderful time. And if you did and you want to see more episodes like this, make sure you like and subscribe. And the comment of the day goes to Thing1G, and it was on a petty revenge episode. I'm so looking forward to this series. From what I know of this subreddit, the stories are amazing. I can't wait to hear more. I really appreciate your enthusiasm, Thing1G. That's so infectious. It sounds like you've got an awesome attitude. But yeah, 1,000,000%. This subreddit is so good. Like, just look at the stuff that we read today. The stories reviews were so fun. And yeah, I'll definitely be making a new episode on this super soon. At least once a week, I reckon. Okay, I'm out of here. Thanks again for all the support, guys. Make sure you look after yourself and make sure you have a beautiful, amazing rest of your day. And you know what I'm about to say because I say it every single day. Bye!